So yeah, I guess let's start. And I think I'm not gonna go from Paris to, starting from season 1 and going to the end of season 3. I think we will just start by fulfilling it from the bottom, from the worst maps to the best maps. And I think everyone can agree, maybe even those who don't speedrun, Isle of Sgáil is definitely here. Definitely the worst map for speedruns. Maybe good for, I mean, it's good for when you do prestige levels, but for speedruns it's just worse. Huge maps, a lot of guards, like too many guards everywhere, like different requirements for guards disguises to be allowed to certain areas, and a lot of levels, a lot of targets on top levels where you just where you don't have a lot of ways around. Usually just one pipe and one heavily guarded stairs, so it's just the worst. I always skip this map for hardcore when I look through the books. I never pick up the book with Sgáil for hardcore. On normal modes, sometimes I was picking up books that have Sgáil because I was hoping to skip it. And I had 2 relatively fast Sgáil missions, and I think the only way when it can be relatively fast if you get keep starts, because there is a boost over there, and you just need to get extremely lucky with targets and to have line of sight for the targets. But you should not hope to get lucky like this. It's just the map you should avoid all the time. Just keep in mind, keep boost for keep starts if you have to go there, and maybe you're right, Solas. VHS for Chapel. Second map here in this bottom line will be Miami. It's better than Sgáil. Sometimes, I mean, if you have to choose between Miami and Sgáil, you definitely pick up the book with Miami, but it's a huge map and it has big pool of targets spread across the entire map, and there are a lot of targets in the Kronstadt building where you don't have any sniper angles for them. There are a lot of targets in this like paddocks areas. I think I was always talking about it on my casual freelancer playthroughs that I think it needs to have like more exits or something to be a bit faster, because this medical car exits, default exits, for dolphins exit you need this like Easter egg, you need a fish, you can't bring it with you, I mean fast. Then bolt exit, it requires key. Like they removed this requirement, for example, in Bangkok for the bolt exit, but in Miami it's still there. It's next to the exit, but still you're spending time. Yeah, maybe a couple of severe exits. Like there is one manhole exit, but I don't remember using it actually in Miami. Most of the time when I play Miami, I use either helicopter when I have targets in the Kronstadt building, or it's bolt exit, because it's kind of, available. And very often you have to deal with targets on this marina side of the map. But it's still the map, like when you have to, I remember on hardcore, if I have to pick up the book with Miami, I always, I'm never happy to have it. I have a good pace, for example, and then I have to pick up the book with Miami because other options are even worse. And I realized that it's probably over. And it's, I think 99% of the time it was over when I had to pick up Miami. In theory, you can get some fast mission from default starting location because there are some targets. Mascot can be the target, mascot in front of you, some guards in front of you can be the targets. Also on showdown, you can get suspects behind you sometimes. I never had it, even when I tried. So it's another map that you don't want to see on your freelancer speedruns. I had one attempt, one completed run on normal difficulty just a couple weeks ago when I had a good pace and I had to pick up the book with Miami for the 4th Syndicate. I was hoping to skip it and I couldn't. It was alerted straight away. And I decided to do showdown there. It had, I think, 4 targets, and all other maps had 2 and 3. And I think in this case, sometimes you can just gamble and take Miami for the showdown. Because if it's Marina starts, I think you always have a lot of targets around it. At least they are walking towards this side of the map from the parking lot or from this podium area. And while you are going to grab a key for the exit, some suspects will arrive. And that's what happened on my run. I think it was like 40 seconds showdown, which is rather fast, even like not even for Miami, but in general. Showdown. But so I think that's the only option where you can use Miami. Even if it has 2 targets, it can be very slow most of the time. But sometimes you can just gamble and do showdown there. Unless you have Mendoza on your syndicate, you can try to do Miami showdown and maybe you can salvage your run. So I think worst of the worst are these 2, and there are more bad maps, but I think maps that I'm gonna place here, they are all slightly better than this. Like I'm gonna place them from left to right, like map on the left will be slightly better than the map on the right. So here Sgáil is the worst, Miami is slightly better. Here I think first map, maybe we will rearrange maps in tiers a little when I give it more thoughts. So I think Mumbai goes here. It's a bad map, it's better than Sgáil. Like I think any map is better than Sgáil. Maybe like, you don't want to see Mumbai in your runs as well, but from my experience, from my runs, even on hardcore difficulty, sometimes when I had to go for Mumbai, I had like better chances for some good mission. Basically, if you don't get targets in the Dawood's building or somewhere in the far corner of train yards, it can be fine. It's slower than other good maps, but you just need a little luck for Mumbai to not be like the worst. That's why I don't place it to the very bottom and I place it here. And I want to say maybe it's not safer than Miami, but it's not too dangerous if you don't push it too much. So plus there is a chance, again, you can use it for showdowns, even like on both difficulties, on hardcore and on normal. If you get default start on location, there is a chance to get a pile of suspects nearby, and there is a chance to get the target there, and it can be I think 15-16 seconds showdown. Chance is not very good, but this is something like to keep in mind for Mumbai when you have it. And again, if you don't have Mendoza on your syndicate, you can try to switch showdown maps and do showdown in Mumbai. Yeah, it would be nice if like there are a lot of this like taxi tuk-tuk exits, but most of them require 2 coins. I think only one that requires 1 coin, it's next to the default exit anyway. Like if we could bring 2 coins or this exit costed only 1 coin, like all of them for Freelancer, it would be much better in terms of speedrunning it. There are exits even in the middle of the map by the skywalk, but you need to have 2 coins for it. Okay, next map here, I think it's gonna be Santa Fortuna. Like as you can see, you want to avoid season 2 maps most of the time. There's huge maps from season 2. Santa Fortuna, from my experience, again, I'm talking from my runs, mostly on hardcore, it has a lot of targets in the town, on the streets, by the bar, on the construction site, and all these targets, they are not hard to access. Like you can either snipe them from somewhere or you can bring bomb and bomb some of them. And I had a lot of like fast missions in Santa Fortuna on hardcore, especially if you get lucky with targets and you get like 2 or 3. I remember having quite a lot sub 1 minute missions here. It's all about getting lucky with targets. But I remember like getting started at the bar and having 1 target around the bar, next target by the Andreas building, and maybe someone by the bus stop, and it happens rather often. At the same time, it's here because Santa Fortuna have these caves, which are probably, even cocoa fields are not that bad. It has annoying starts by this shaman and there are not many targets around it. And every time it's basically something like default starting location in Dartmoor. If you start by the shaman hut, by those people, you just wasting 30-40 seconds running to the map. So this is how it control you. But when I have to choose, I definitely take Santa Fortuna over Mumbai, and like I take any of these two maps over Miami and Sgáil when I have to choose between them. I think Marrakesh is gonna be next. Let me place it. Marrakesh is going here. I think it's slightly better. I mean, it's a very dangerous map. I think it's more dangerous map is Sgáil among these 5. Sgáil is the most dangerous. Marrakesh is second dangerous here. And it has this school and consulate areas of the map where you can't like go around to get them. You just need to use few entrances, and you have to deal with a lot of guards, or you need to get some disguise in advance. And especially school area, it's super dangerous. I think maybe it would be too easy, but I think the same way they cancelled key requirement for the boat in Bangkok, they could do something similar to other exits, which would make them slightly, it would make them easier to play, but more maybe balanced for hardcore. I don't know. Like all these maps on C and D tiers, you don't want to have them on your speedrun. You usually want to avoid all of these maps, but there are some differences and you can choose between some of them when you have to. Sometimes you don't have a choice and you have to get some of these maps for your campaign. So Marrakesh is better than Santa Fortuna and Mumbai because it can be played as a showdown. It's something similar to Mumbai. You can get lucky with the showdown if you start on the default starting location or on the roof, because especially default starting location, you just go outside from this like marketplace and you can get a bunch of suspects by the cafe. Plus some targets in consulate, you can snipe them from the market, from this bazaar. Basically, worst part is school, and it's very annoying sometimes to get targets in the tunnels. Tunnel under from consulate to this shop, shoe shop or whatever it is. But chances to get like fast mission or even play it as a showdown and get fast showdown are slightly better than getting a fast mission in Santa Fortuna, Mumbai, and especially maps over here. That's why I'm placing Marrakesh slightly above these maps. Also, I think this rule could work for any of these maps. You should be picking up explosives for these maps. Maybe you don't need it in Miami, but it can help you a lot, especially in hardcore, to have explosives for these maps, because there are a lot of targets in public and it's much easier to deal with them with explosive. Even if it's illegal explosive, you can just drop it and trigger it. And if you wasn't spotted by any guards before explosion, it's gonna be completely fine and you can get away. I remember using it a lot in Marrakesh and Santa Fortuna because I think these two maps, when I had to, I played them the most from these worst maps here. So, and I think the last map that will go to like bad maps part of the tier list is gonna be, where is it? Ambrose Island. I'm not sure if it's better than Marrakesh. I avoid Ambrose Island most of the time. I remember having some good missions. Usually the only way to have a good mission is when you start at the social hub by this, like, what's her name, Farah cafe. I think this is the only way where you can get lucky, because there are a lot of targets in this middle part of the map, and if you start there, you're not wasting time to get to them. But it's rather dangerous map. I would like I said, for most of these maps I would recommend bringing explosives, because even if you get easy target, I remember dying a lot in Ambrose. I was getting easy targets in this middle part of the map, and I was just shooting them straight away and getting gunned down immediately. Because I think most part of map population are guards, and they all have like shotguns and ARs, and sometimes it feels kind of like Haven in terms of detection, because panic spreads so much faster. I mean, it's not as Haven, but it's kind of close to it. And Ambrose should be played very, very carefully. I think I will place it like that it's better than Marrakesh, just because, I mean, the worst parts of Ambrose is when you get targets at those colonial ruins, but I think they are easy to access than Marrakesh School, for example, or Tunnel, or some consulate targets. Personally, I could take Marrakesh most of the time over Ambrose, but I think like from not only what I saw in my runs, what I saw from different speedrunners, I think Ambrose is slightly better overall. That's why it's gonna be like on top of this tier. It's smaller than Santa Fortuna and Mumbai. That's why I will definitely take Ambrose over Mumbai and Santa Fortuna if I have to. I just doubt which one I would go for if I have to choose between Ambrose and Marrakesh. Yeah, I'm mostly talking about how fast they can be, plus sometimes, you know, how dangerous or not. I think if you play it, say, if you have explosives for Ambrose, it can be rather free, because Ambrose is the only map among these slow bad maps that allow you to open carry sniper rifle. And if you get any guard disguise on Ambrose, you can open carry sniper rifle, and if no one is looking, you can snipe people like from the bush or from some distance, and you don't have to worry about hiding your rifle. You can just run around. And if you have enough explosives with you, it's definitely will be safer than Marrakesh. Targets near Satellite, or it makes Amber. Yeah, Satellite is colonial ruins. Under ruins, I would say it's fine in the caves, because there is an exit. If you have target there, you go for them last and exit via the bolt. But I still consider this map, like I avoid this map most of the time. If I have something from other maps to choose, I'm not gonna go to Ambrose. And now let's move on to middle parts of tier list. Where to start? I guess Sapienza. Sapienza goes here. Sapienza, they changed it a lot for Freelancer. It seems like it has like a master difficulty layout, even on normal difficulty when it's not alerted. And Sapienza, any of these maps and any maps from average, this like B tier, I never take them for first syndicate. As you saw from my runs, I always like looking for better first syndicate, and none of these maps are good enough for first syndicate. But when you go into second or later syndicates, these maps from this middle line, you are kind of not too happy to see them, but you're fine with these maps. And Sapienza, it has very huge problem with ruins starts, when you start behind the ruins by the bolts, which makes it just completely slow if you get the starting location. Also, this tower starting location on the main square. I mean, now we have VHS tape that we can use there to boost down from there, the same way we do on Saso speedrun from the tower. But you still don't want to see those starting locations. And even from others, like it's always never give you combination when you, for example, start in the ruins and get targets at the ruins. It's always something opposite from your starting location. I mean, that's why Sapienza is in the middle part. I think average Sapienza, very often it can be sub 2 minutes. Like I'm trying to think about, it's always something like you start on the main square or in the morgue, kill some target around you, then you have to go to the main square or to the pier, kill someone there, then you have to go to the lab. There is always someone. I think there are maybe 5 or 6 NPCs that can be targets in the lab, but game really likes to give them to you as targets. And very often I remember finding myself that I have to go to the lab to... At least it has exit there. You can use plain exit in the lab, but it's... I'm trying, like, remember average SAP is like 140-ish, I think, if you get a little bit lucky. But at the same time, it can be very slow when you get ruins targets, when you get lab targets and tower starting location, stuff like this. But now we have some cover aims in SAPI that could help to get to the lab relatively fast. Plus, I always recommend to have bomb for Sapienza to breach open the wall to the lab when you start at the pier or in the morgue, because there are not a lot of targets. I mean, there are a lot of targets in public, but there are not a lot of guards in SAPI, and it's rather safe map. That's why you don't need explosive for targets, but you want at least one bomb, even concussion bomb will do, to open this wall, to break open wall to get into the lab. Because I remember having mission like this rather often when I start on the pier and I have target nearby and next target is inside the lab. So I would say SAPI is rather safe, like it's balanced because it's safe, but it's not fast enough. But you don't mind to take it on your late syndicates, like over any of these maps, that's for sure. So next map that goes here, I think it's gonna be Paris. Yeah, when I just started to run Freelancer, I was avoiding Paris most of the time, but now in my recent runs, I started to accept it because it's dangerous on the middle floor around this catwalk, on the balcony around catwalk. There are a lot of guards, these cicada guards and just standard guards, and if loud shots are fired, it's very risky. It's very hard to survive on this like middle floor. But Paris can be fast. It's definitely faster than Sapienza, I think, on average. It's much faster. It can be annoying with the different combinations of targets when it gives you targets on each level and someone like outside at the garden. But Paris has this notorious subdue boost from attic starts, and when you start there, it's very easy boost to use, and it's really giving you a lot of opportunities to snipe targets and just to get like shorter way to some point of the map. Plus, we have cover aim boosts almost on every side of the mansion, of the building, on balconies on the sides, one above like this bar area, one above dressing area. There is a cover aim under the attic starts. Like there are a lot of small shortcuts like this, and that's why it has grown on me in my recent grind of normal mode and even hardcore. Like when I see this dot on the map, Paris, I'm not afraid of it that much. I mean, it's dangerous compared to Sapi, but not too bad. Plus, it has good opportunities for showdowns. If you have to, if you have 4 targets in Paris and 2 targets on your showdown map, like Whittleton or Haven, you might do showdown in Paris instead. I think, except attic starts, you can get fast showdowns from all other starting locations. If you start on the defaults, you can get basically all suspects in front of you. Sometimes some of them are on the right from the building, and you can just run to the right, unpack, snipe them through the bushes, and there is an exit right behind you. Even from barge start, I had I think it's like 30 seconds, 32, 35 seconds showdowns in Paris from barge starts, because when you start on the barge, very often you can get targets on the same side of the map. It's either someone by the helipads or on the left near the bar entrance. So barge is probably the worst starting location, but for showdowns it worked very good. And that's why I rate Paris better than Sapi, and I definitely go to Paris instead of Sapienza, because it's like, it's a square map. It's one building, and there are not a lot of ways to get up and down, but we have this cover aims, and that's why, in my opinion, it makes it better. It's still very dangerous. I mean, I died so many times in Paris trying to shoot my targets, trying to push the mission on this middle floor and on auction floor. But if you play it a bit more safe, you can get away without problems. Okay, so what's next here? I think Hokkaido goes in here. This is where I expect some speedrunners won't agree with me about placing Hokkaido to B. But I mean, Hokkaido from maps from this side, Hokkaido is probably the fastest map from average tier. Hokkaido, from my experience, it's very dangerous map because of all those glass walls and windows everywhere. Like, it's giving you opportunities to snipe your targets from sometimes across the garden. You can be at the corridor to the surgery and snipe targets at the restaurant. But it's so dangerous and it's so overpopulated with guards, especially surgery area. Since on speedruns we only deal with alerted version of the map, even if it's normal or hardcore, you always have to deal with alerted. It has a lot of extra cameras, a lot of extra guards, and if you get some targets in the surgery building that you can't wallbang from the morgue, you are in trouble very often. Because if at least one loud shot is fired on the map, it's basically all guards are chasing you. They are all on you, trying to catch you. And it's always tricky. I think it was on my last stream, I changed like 5 disguises trying to contain situation, and I was always getting caught by someone. I mean, surviving when it's hard to survive like this, meaning you have to play slower or you have to spend some time containing situation, and that's why I know it can be very fast. You can get very fast missions. Especially if you have 2 or 3 targets, you can just get it in 1 minute, in less than 1 minute. But it's so dangerous, and still it has very annoying targets in the surgery building. And I think there is a rather huge pool of the NPCs that can be targets in there. And that's why very often you have to deal with them. And when you have to deal with them, you're in danger and you either play slow or you just risk it, pushing it to the limit, and very often just dying. Because same as you can snipe targets through different windows and walls, guards can also snipe you. And I think this map is same as other dangerous maps, Ambrose, Marrakesh and Sgáil. It requires you to have some bombs with you for public targets to just make sure you survive it and you can continue. And I think even when you load into the map and you see easy targets. I remember loading into default starting location and there is this Dexter guy as a target, someone by the cable car and someone in the corridor. I snipe them straight away. Then someone gets panic, alert guards, and they shooting me on my way to the exit. And it's over. I mean, it's much faster than Paris and Sapi, but it's so dangerous and I probably died there. This is the map except Sgáil where I died the most, I think. So that's why I'm placing Hokkaido here. I mean, season 1 maps are more tricky in general because they have a lot of extra guards and cameras on master difficulty. And since we have master difficulty layout on Freelancer alerted territories, it's always tricky to deal with season 1. Yeah. If you have to go to surgery building, it's very tricky. A lot of guards on both levels, and they are not like, there are some groups in this like chill room and in exercise room, but there are also guards on every entrance to this like theater and a lot of patrolling guards, and it's really tricky to deal with them. I think only 2 targets in the surgery building that you can wallbang from the morgue, and when I see them, it's this main surgeon and some extra NPC lady in the same room. Like when I see them and they are the only targets in the surgery building, I'm happy because you can go to the basement and shoot them through the ceiling. But that's all. If you see other targets there, then you have problems. So next map to be here, it's gonna be Chongqing. Actually, I'm not sure which one I should rate better. Let's talk about Chongqing a bit and then we will decide. Chongqing is the map that very often can be super slow. It has a lot of targets and facility, and game really enjoys giving you those targets, and some of them are really hard to deal with. I mean, not hard to deal with, but hard and slow to get to them. I mean, we have a lot of cover aims and some wall bangs that can help you with some of them, but there are still some targets on the bottom floor, bottom level of facility, and some guy in this analytic room that you can't deal from outside, and you have to go inside. And when you get like one target on the lowest level of facility and one target on the top of Hush's block, it's gonna be a long journey. But at the same time, Chongqing, I was playing Chongqing a lot. I was picking up, sometimes I was even like happy to see Chongqing in my early days of Freelancer Speedruns, because Chongqing is a rather safe map. I think it's really, if you just shoot couple guards on your way, you can survive anywhere. Unless you only shoot your target and push through guards without killing them, and you run this way across the entire map, they will eventually stop you. But it's really easy to contain situation and to control, just to start with control situation on the map, because some areas has a lot of guards, like lower level of facility and Hush block, but even there it feels easy to control it, because there are a lot of corners, corridors, some rooms where you can just camp a little and shoot the guards. And it seems like it's not the same like in Hokkaido when someone fires the shot and everyone is chasing you. It's not this way in Chongqing. I am not happy to see it on my runs because it's relatively slow, but I think I take it over any of these maps. I hesitated a bit about Hokkaido because Hokkaido can be very, very fast sometimes, but Chongqing is not too bad, I would say. Main thing about Chongqing is you have to learn and practice cover aims to be confident in Chongqing, and also just there are not a lot of them, but you have to know like basic wall banks for Chongqing. Like basic wall banks are wall banks through windows above facility, like in the building above facility. If you know targets that you can wall bang through those windows, and you know basic cover aims from ground floor to facility or from Hush's building to the ground, you can make a lot of Chongqing missions much faster on your runs. That's why it's like the map, you have to be prepared for this map. If you know this common tricks there, then you will be able to make something good out of it. Yeah, and another, even this Hush block building, you can snipe a lot of targets from laundry roof. That's why I never consider Hush's building as targets in Hush's building as bad targets. I mean, there are some annoying targets there. Usually it's civilians who you can't panic to lure towards you, but there are a lot of targets if you can like build your routes to the laundry roof to exit there. You can snipe a lot of targets in Hush block from this laundry roof. That's why I think main problem for speedruns in Chongqing is facility targets. Those targets that we don't have wall bangs or cover aims for. So yeah, this is, I think this is all about Chong. Just learn cover aims and wall bangs and it won't be too bad. Yeah, I'm rating these maps for like both hardcore and normal. Most of the maps work the same way for both difficulties. We will have more differences for upper tier between normal and hardcore, I think. Most of these maps are the same for both difficulties, for normal and hardcore. And I think the last map that I'm gonna place here, it's gonna be Berlin. I'm placing it on top of this line because Berlin is very safe map. Unless you just playing completely reckless, it's really easy to survive in Berlin. It has a lot of guards, mostly in Bikers building, but even there, it's something similar to Chong, where you can camp or there is always a way to escape. And that's why I think Yeah, Berlin is very safe, plus it has a lot of good targets, and most of the starting, there are only 3 starting locations: entrance to the club, basement, and on the roof. And all of them are pretty fine. I would say basement is the worst because amount of targets we have outside and on the ground floor of the club, it's bigger, and that's why when you get spawned in the basement, it's always slower to go upstairs than boost downstairs. And that's why probably basement is the worst, but I've seen a lot of good Berlin missions from basement because there are also targets you can get there. And there are a lot of targets you can get on the level above the basement at the bar or on the bridge. And you can easily snipe them from sometimes DJ booth or somewhere from the dance floor. That's why I take Berlin. If not forest target, the guy in the forest, and if not this combination of basement and target in the forest, in the bikers building and somewhere at the chill out area, I would place Berlin even to A tier. But this combination with the forest targets and just placing you to the basement and placing all your targets outside, and these combinations happen rather often, I'm gonna place it in the middle line. I don't mind Berlin. I definitely take Berlin over any of these maps here. If I have a choice with good maps on both books and I have to choose only between Berlin and any of this, it's gonna be Berlin. I understand that Hokkaido can be faster, but I just feel more confident in Berlin, and I think I'm not the only one who feel this way. For Berlin, main thing you have to learn is this drop down from the roof of the building to the dance floor. The one that I think most people struggle with. I thought I know consistent lineup for it, but I also struggle with sometimes. But this is basically main boost you need to know about Berlin, and it will make your runs much faster when you start from club entrance. Roof start is usually pretty fine because you have a brick nearby, you can use cover aim on the roof, and sometimes you can even get lucky with targets that you can snipe. And from the roof you can always easily get to the stairs to get to the lowest level to the club, and that's why I think it's pretty fast on average. Plus, I haven't been using it a lot for showdowns in hardcore, but on normal difficulty, I had a lot of fast showdowns on Berlin. Usually, I think every starting location can provide you with good showdown. If you start on the roof, you can get suspects in front of you. Even if they are not in front of you, you can drop down, should open the door near the scooter exit, and enter the ground floor of the building and find some suspects over there. In the basement, when you start in the basement, very often it gives you a lot of suspects in the basement. So I remember getting 30 seconds showdown in Berlin from the basement. Same for default starting location. When you start there, very often it spawns some suspects on the right from the entrance, and you can just snipe them or bomb them and run to the bicycle. That's why I really like Berlin, and I think it's very important that it's safe, and also it has very fast options. I think we are done with this line, but I'm not sure about placement of Chongqing and Hokkaido. My biased opinion, this line is correct, but I think it's fair to put Hokkaido over here, because it's faster, plus there are showdown options on normal difficulty. I've never tried on hardcore, but on normal you can get lucky with ninja start. I had it a few times, and I think it's fair to put Hokkaido here, that it's a bit better than Chong. All these maps, all the remaining maps, I think I'm happy to see any of them, with some differences between hardcore and normal difficulty, but all these maps, when I'm skimming through the books, I'm not looking at the list, I'm looking at the dots on the map, and I always, when I see combinations of these maps, I always ready to grab it. So it's tricky to rate them and which one is better, because there are way more nuances about them than about slow and average maps. I think first map that goes to A will be Dubai. Main problem about Dubai, and I think this what makes it slow most of the time, when you get targets in the penthouse, especially targets those guards on the top floor of the penthouse, because targets on the first level of penthouse you can get upstairs. There are line of sights for the chef, for example. There is one lady who you can wallbang her from the balcony, Carl's Ingram balcony, where he starts. But targets on the top floor on penthouse, they are what makes Dubai slow sometimes. I mean, you can get lucky with the route, with the line that you build for it, but this is, I think, the main flaw of the map. And other than that, Dubai is very good map that I take for all these maps, all these remaining maps and Dubai, these maps that I take for first syndicate. And I think this is what shows that these are good maps, when you're ready to, when you know these maps can provide you with very fast missions or even fast showdowns. Probably the worst starting location in Dubai is this open air, the Sky Bar, or I don't know how it's called. It's probably the worst, but even from there you can easily get to the penthouse floor, and there are a lot of sniping possibilities from the place where Carl Ingram starts. And Dubai can be used as a showdown very, very easily, especially from default starting location and from this next to penthouse starting location. You can get really fast showdown, even sub 10 seconds showdown and missions from penthouse start. Plus, this penthouse start is giving you disguise if you need to, because Dubai is another map that allows you to carry sniper rifles, and you can get disguise from Carl's Ingram bodyguard or this red hat guards from penthouse, and you can open carry sniper rifles, which makes it more convenient. Yeah, I forgot to say about Berlin, because bikers in Berlin can carry sniper rifles as well. So yeah, Dubai overall is a good map. There are options to snipe targets from different sides of the map. When you start by the penthouse, you can go to this conference room and snipe some targets from on the ground floor in the lobby. Plus, can be easily used for showdowns when you have to choose showdown depending on amount of targets. And if you have on your syndicate, you have Dartmoor with 2 targets and New York with 2 targets, and Dubai has 4, you can easily go for showdown in Dubai. I would say rather balanced map in all terms, easy to survive, rather fast on average, and also flexible if you need to play it as a mission and showdown. So Dubai goes here. Next map on this tier will be Dartmoor. Yeah, Dartmoor is the map. I have complicated relationship with Dartmoor, and I think IOI also has weird relationships, because they always try to patch boosts from the balcony. Main problem of Dartmoor, Dubai has those targets on the top floor of penthouse, and main problem of Dartmoor is default starting location, I think, because there are some annoying targets inside the house, especially on the top floor, but even if you start by the boat, you can relatively fast get there. But if you start on the default starting location by the motorcycle and there are no targets to snipe from there, then you just lose 30-40 seconds to get on the map, basically. It's like you start outside the map if you start by the motorcycle. I mean, at the same time, this starting location can give you very fast mission if you get lucky. It can be 5-6 seconds mission if you get targets on this side of the map. But the problem is, I think we don't have that many targets on this side. I mean, sometimes it happens, but pool of the targets on this side of the map is smaller than targets on the other side. That's why starting on, if it happens on first syndicate, I just recommend to abort campaign and look for better syndicate. And same thing about showdowns in Dartmoor. I've been using it for showdowns a lot, and it works on both difficulties, on hardcore and on normal difficulty. And you can be the same 5-6 seconds showdown from default start, but it seems like it works better on hardcore. On normal difficulty, in 100 hours of grind for normal campaign, I had only one showdown in Dartmoor where I had targets in front of me from default start, and it definitely happens more often on hardcore. So this is where we have some small subtle differences between hardcore and normal difficulty. Dartmoor as a mission, it's basically the same as a showdown. I would do showdowns in Dartmoor more often when I play hardcore. When I play normal, I would mostly use it for mission, because you get really unlucky with suspects on default start in Dartmoor all the time. So yeah, but Dartmoor is, on average, it's a fast map. It's definitely fast from balcony and bold starts. It depends on luck for default start and location, but on average it's rather fast map, and I want to say it's safe. I think maybe it's even safer than Dubai. It's just you should not play too reckless around areas where we have a lot of guards, like this car exit, for example. It has around 6 guards around it, so this is probably the only area outside where you need to pay attention to be more cautious. And on the top floor there are plenty of guards, but usually it's not hard to deal with them. So I think Dartmoor is rather safe. If you know how to do cover aim, balcony start is as fast as bold start very often. So overall it's a good map. It's trolling me a lot with a default starting location, but I still think it's a good map, and this possibility to get really fast maps, sometimes even on the late gameplay, on the late campaign, when you load into the map on the bold starting location, and you can just snipe your targets from there and exit, and you get like 15 seconds mission. Next map, yeah, it's gonna be Bangkok here. Bangkok is the map I've been avoiding it for a long time. I've been running hardcore most of the time, and I've been avoiding it until I don't know what happened. Maybe I saw someone playing it, maybe I just was forced to play it and I was getting a good missions there. Bangkok is the map that has grown for me from the map I was avoiding to the map that I'm looking for on the book, on the syndicate. The main problem of Bangkok, and I think everyone will agree who run Freelancer, is targets inside Jordan Cross Wing. If you get targets on this left building, it's a huge problem, because we have like very good pipe on the right building and exit next to it, but we don't have very safe and fast ways to the top floor of the left building of the Jordan Cross studio part. Other than that, I mean, at least luckily game doesn't give those targets very often. I don't know if it's me lucky, or I mean, I don't remember having a lot of missions with targets over there. Usually if it's first syndicate and I get target there, I just abort the campaign, but very often it can be very fast map, even from basically from any starting location, from pier, from suite, from lobby. There are a lot of targets in the lobby, targets outside in front of hotel, targets on the roof, targets, all these targets in the right building above 47th suite. They are easy to get because there are not a lot of guards there. There are just not a lot of obstacles there to get them, and there is a pipe from this top floor right to the exit. And thanks that IOI made this exit for Freelancer because it definitely made Bangkok much better. And furthermore, Bangkok has very good potential for showdowns. And I've been using it for showdowns a lot in my normal campaign grinds. The only bad thing that can happen in Bangkok showdown is pier starts, because usually there are not, I don't remember, suspects outside of hotel. They are usually in the lobby, on the roof above the lobby, and sometimes at the penthouses on the right side or on the left side. And I had a lot of good showdowns where, and it tends to spawn targets like, you know, this pile of targets on the ground floor or on the roof. And that's why no matter if you start at the suite or in the lobby, you can just basically unpack rifles straight away and snipe them, and again go to this new exit. I mean, when I think about Bangkok, remembering my missions there, I always remember something like around 1 minute, very often sub 1 minute, because there are really a lot of targets outside, and no matter where you start, you can snipe them. Either on the pier, if you start, you just go behind some corner and snipe them. If you start at the suite, you can go to the roof, get rid of the guards there and snipe a lot of targets from the roof. So I think it's a very good map for the runs. It doesn't have those crazy fast options that Dartmoor and Dubai have, like Dartmoor bold start, 10 seconds mission, Dartmoor default start, very rare, but sometimes 7 seconds mission, Dubai penthouse start with a sub 10 seconds. But overall, on average, I think Bangkok is fast map, and it's faster than Dartmoor and Dubai more often. That's why, like I said, from avoiding Bangkok, now I'm looking for Bangkok on my runs, and it works for both, for hardcore and normal. It's more dangerous on hardcore, especially if you have to go to the left side of the building. There are just as many guards as probably in Hokkaido surgery building. That's why you have to be careful, get rid of the guards in advance or grab this guy somewhere, because it's really dangerous part of the map. But other than that, you can get away with a lot of stuff on the right side and on the roof especially. I think that's it about Bangkok. So, and I think the last map that will go to A tier, it actually feels very wrong to place it there. But I think Mendoza goes here. It's not going to S, it's going to A. Come on. At least it's first in here. Mendoza is the map that defined main suit for Freelancer speedruns. Like, everyone runs Freelancer in a Requiem suit because of the extra exit at the shrine, and it's one of 3 starting locations you can get. And Mendoza is, I guess if you say Freelancer speedrun, Mendoza showdown is something that will pop up in your mind first. Because it won't be wrong to say first speedruns of Freelancer were built around Mendoza showdowns. So it's like very good map and very consistent map for showdowns. No one is happy to see shrine starts for Mendoza, but even from there it can be rather fast. And it's not like on some other maps when you do showdowns, you have to, I would say you have to improvise more, but in Mendoza it's basically you can learn the strats and you can do it and it will work all the time. I mean, you can get screwed by prestige objective on hardcore, but Mendoza is probably the most consistent showdown map, and it doesn't matter where you start. It can be a bit slower because of shrine, but it's a bit risky from shrine because of the suspects on the top floor, but it's still more consistent as a showdown than any other map. And this is the same reason why why it's not placed on top tier for me, because it's only good for showdowns. If you have Mendoza on your syndicate, you have to do showdown in Mendoza, and it doesn't let you to be flexible with choosing showdown map depending on amount of targets you have on other maps. Like you can have all these 4 maps on your syndicate number 2, for example, and all this Bangkok, Dartmoor, and Dubai, they can be used as a showdowns. And for example, if you have 4 targets in Dubai here and 2 targets on the rest, you still will have to do Mendoza showdown and play 4 targets Dubai, because unlike on showdowns, on the missions, Mendoza has a lot of targets inside the factory, inside the mansion, behind the mansion, on the... I mean, it's fine if you get targets on the grape field, but even if someone is just inside this factory, behind some wall, or in the tasting room, you have a problem dealing with them. That's why I played sometimes, like I was experimenting and playing Mendoza as a mission, but it never worked out very good. That's why it doesn't let me place it higher. As much as I like Mendoza and as much as I've been using it all the time for my hardcore showdowns, plus now after I have some more experience in normal modes, it also has a difference between hardcore and normal. On normal mode, there are more like faster alternatives for showdowns than Mendoza. Like even the fastest Mendoza showdown is 27, maybe 26 seconds if you get parking lot and if you get your target first try. And it's like fastest you can get. Unlike even Bangkok, you can get sub 20 seconds from lobby starts. Dartmoor and Dubai has sub 10 seconds showdowns, and Mendoza very consistent, but even the fastest showdown is relatively slow for normal, especially for normal difficulty. For hardcore, all the showdowns on other maps are a bit more risky, like chances to get those fast showdowns are lower. And Mendoza always work consistent no matter the difficulty, but on normal difficulty, I was avoiding Mendoza very often. I never picked up the book with Mendoza for the first syndicate. And if I didn't have worse maps to skip on normal mode, I was skipping Mendoza to have flexibility on the rest of the missions. That's why Mendoza is here. And I think this is the last map for this tier. All these maps with some explanations, but all these maps will go to the top. So yeah, let's start with the final tier. And well, I will explain it later, but let's place New York. New York goes first. New York is similar to Mendoza in terms of flexibility, I want to say. I mean, Mendoza, good for showdowns, bad for missions. New York is very good for missions. I don't want to say bad for showdowns, but it's less likely to give you something good for showdown from my experience. But still, it can be used for showdowns when you don't have a choice, and it also has possibility to give you sub 10 seconds showdown, but I wouldn't recommend to use New York as a showdown map. But as a mission, New York is one of the best and like fastest map you want, like you're looking for. I mean, every top tier map can throw you with some weird combinations of targets and starting location, but maps like New York, they have like average rate to give you something fast is so much higher than any other map. And New York is, even the fact that you don't really want to play showdown in New York, it doesn't make it too bad, because there is always an option for showdown. Most of the time there is an option, like you will have something like Bangkok or Berlin or I don't know, Paris, where you can do showdown instead if you want to run New York. I remember doing New York showdowns in some weird situations where I didn't have showdown friendly maps at all, and New York had 4 targets, and then I was going for New York showdown. As a mission, it's just great. Plus we have some cover aims in New York that helps you to deal with sometimes weird combinations of targets. For example, you have target in the basement, target on the top floor, and you can just go to the top floor first and then drop down to the basement and exit in the basement. something like this. I mean, there are slow like spins in New York sometimes, but this is the map you are always happy to see and you are always looking for when you skim through the books. Like this A and S tier maps, they are the maps you want to see most of the time. I was using it all the time for my first mission in normal campaigns. My first mission is always like sub 30 seconds when I use New York, because even if I start in the basement or on this like visitors area, it's just basically you running to the exit from there and killing target on your way. And there are a lot of targets in your way that game can give you. So that's why New York is one of the best maps. Then I think next, yeah, it's gonna be Haven here. And Haven, very dangerous map because of mechanics, broken view cons, there's lines of sight. And from my experience, maybe if it was hardcore speedruns tier list, I would probably place Haven to A because of how often on hardcore it was giving me targets inside the server basement, and how often it was giving me suspects behind the villa. But like if we talk about mixed like category, like evaluating them from both difficulties, Haven deserves to be on top, because even with those unlucky targets and suspects, it still provided me with a lot of good and fast missions and showdowns on both difficulties. It worked so much better on normal. I think I can say it now without being afraid to jinx it, but Haven worked better than everything. If it was normal tier list, Haven would be first map ever here. Because amount of showdowns where I could complete it in less than 20 seconds and sometimes in less than 10 seconds was just enormous on normal difficulty. And like I said, for hardcore, I was always a bit worried about having Haven on my syndicate. Like, I'm glad to have maps like this, but I'm always worried loading to the map. But on normal, Haven was just the best map I ever played. My experience on normal difficulty with Haven was just great. It's like very versatile map. You can do missions there, you can do showdowns there. You can basically accept the mansion, you can shoot through the entire map from all the sides. You can kill targets from the pier, even some targets on private islands. It can provide you with a lot of fast missions and fast showdowns. It's flexible, it allows you to switch between different maps. Like if you want to do showdown here, you do it. If it has two targets, you play it as a mission and do showdown somewhere else. It has to be approached with caution because of broken lines of sights there. You can't just, I mean, you can get away with a lot of stuff on normal difficulty, but on hardcore it should be played safer, because sometimes you can't even realize where you get spotted from. I had situation, it wasn't speedrun, it was essay playthrough. When I got spotted without having this attention meter filling up, it appeared on the screen after it was over, after it was full. I was hearing like a small whoosh, but then some guard far away from me, he got a exclamation mark, and he spotted me like not across the map, but from a huge distance. So, and this broken Yukons is a small like flaw of the map, but if you play it safe, it should not be a huge problem. Also, explosives should be, if you play it as a mission, I think you should, if you can, you should bring at least one bomb to Haven to deal with gym targets, for example. Overall, this map is very good. We know about Haven from long time ago, but more we play it, I think more we know it and better missions we get from it. We have two final maps. Colorado will go next, I think. If you don't like Colorado, I'm sorry. But if you want to do speedruns, you have to learn it, practice it, and embrace Colorado, because it works works very, very good for both difficulties as a mission, and it works very good for showdowns on hardcore. It's a bit weaker on normal difficulty as a showdown, I would say, but overall it's a very fast map that you're always happy to see Water Tower. I think there is only one target that you can't deal with from Water Tower. It's this guy instructor behind the mansion. I think even all the hackers you can lure and snipe them. You just have to learn how to play it, I guess. Not a lot to learn when you get Water Tower spawn, but you need to practice it and learn it when you play it when you start it from different starting locations, because you can get to Water Tower very easy from West Bridge start if you need to, and from another one, and it's basically the same as you started there. You just lost maybe like 15-20 seconds, but usually just getting on the roof under the Water Tower is enough to get sub 50 seconds mission in Colorado. I mean, there are annoying targets, but there are annoying targets everywhere, but there are no targets like we have in the basement of Haven, for example, or in the mansion. Colorado have a couple targets inside the barn, inside the shed, but they are not as annoying as some targets on other maps. And if you practice it, it will work for you very good most of the time. That's why Colorado goes to very top, and it deserves to be here for both difficulties. Like I said, it's a bit weaker on normal difficulty for showdowns, because on hardcore, what you expect from Colorado Showdown is default starting location and suspects at the front entrance, and very often there is a target there. Or if you start on the Water Tower, you usually have a line of sight for most of the suspects groups. If you start from the West Bridge, you can panic them by shooting the gas lamp by the mansion. But on normal difficulty, for some reason, it's just because we have less amount of suspects, I guess. You don't get the same layout for showdowns in Colorado on normal. And I've been practicing it when I just started to run normal difficulty, and I noticed it very fast that it doesn't work as good for showdowns on normal as it works on hardcore. Especially on the early syndicates on first and second, you don't have a problem with that you have to do Colorado Showdown. Usually there is the way how you choose the books and skip the missions on first and second syndicates. There is always something else for Showdown. That's why it's not a huge problem. Okay, and yeah, it's not a secret anymore. Top map. Top map will be Whittleton Creek. I want to mention once again, if it was about normal difficulty, this tier list, I don't think I would change a lot on the tiers under S, but I think if it was about normal, I would put Haven and New York first, and then it would be Colorado and Whittleton. And Whittleton Creek is like very versatile, universal map that you can use for both for missions and showdowns. And it has a lot of like huge potential to be fast for both difficulties and for both type of missions, for showdowns, for normal missions, for hardcore missions, for everything. There are annoying targets, as always. There are annoying targets everywhere. And I think the most annoying targets in Whittleton are targets inside Genesis house. It's this guy in the basement. It's this, what's his name, Gunther? Maybe Gunther is not that annoying because you can snipe him from garage, from Cassidy's garage, but still, targets inside Genesis house are probably the only bad thing about the map. There are a lot of guards in that area, and sometimes it's rather dangerous to go in there, and when you get targets over there, it's making Whittleton much slower. Other than that, most of the targets are free to get. People at party can easily snipe them from next house starting location, or by shooting gas lamps from across the map and through different angles. Like there is an angle to shoot the gas lamp from Limo on the main street. So, and a lot of targets just outside on the map map on the streets. This mailman, this jogger lady, targets by the politician, even target inside Cassidy's house. I don't think they are a huge problem because Cassidy's house is like right next to the exit, and even if you have to go inside, you can do it. You can leave it for last and then exit using the bridge. So I think Whittleton is one of the best maps. What I want to say on normal difficulty, I wasn't always going for Whittleton Creek because 6 seconds showdowns in Haven and 6 seconds show missions in New York are more interesting to get, and there is a good chance of it, and Whittleton doesn't have this option. At the same time, Whittleton still has very fast possibilities on both missions and showdowns from default start location from the bus stop. I had showdowns where you start there, you snipe the target inside Helen's house, and you just exit in like 12 seconds. And I had the same missions in Whittleton. It's slower than best possible missions in New York, but they still are on the map. They still options in Whittleton. That's why I think Whittleton is the most like balanced in terms of possibility of very fast missions, of being very fast on average, and it's rather easy to play it from like there is not a lot to research, and like all you need to know, just shoot the fire extinguisher at the Cassidy's garage on the showdown to panic suspects, and don't forget crowbar to have like 6 or 7 extra manhole exits on the map and you'll be fine. In terms of showdowns, it's a bit more risky. It's a bit more risky than Mendoza, because if you started, behind the map by the statue or inside the mansion, sometimes you can lose your targets. You can miss them when they escape to the bridge or to the construction site exit, but still it's a very good one. That's why it's gonna be here. Like, as I said, if it was about normal, probably Haven would be first. If it's only about hardcore, maybe even Haven, I would place it to A, but now having all the experience and playing normal difficulty, overall Haven is very good. And I remember a lot of good missions on hardcore as well. When you just start on the default start location and snipe your targets under the restaurant, someone on the right, and you just exit. So yeah, I think that's it. I think this is pretty much reflects my vision of the maps in terms of Freelancer speedruns, like overall for both difficulties.